One of the best things to come out of the coronavirus lockdown is that not everybody flocked to their TV screens, to Netflix and chill, or live stream on every available platform. Others called up with a few good books and stocked up on them, further reviving an already active reading culture in South Africa. So we took to the streets of Johannesburg to tour some of its 1,080 bookstores and learn its literary history along the way.
Today we're going to do a walking tour through the Joburg CBD, and it's looking at all of the ways that books have shaped the city. So we're going to meet booksellers who are selling books now in all kinds of cool and different ways.
We start right here at one of the more conventional bookshops.
Our ground floor is mostly the new books, and it's about 90% local books. So local meaning South African and the rest of the region. Upstairs is the mezzanine that we built for the kids section. So we keep books in all 11 languages upstairs. Not every book is available in all 11 languages, but as much as we can, we have the full spread. One of our projects is working on recapturing traditional stories or retelling traditional stories in different ways. So the first one we did is called The First Story Ever Told, and it's using a story that has variations around Africa, but we used a Zulu version as the core of the story. And it's telling the story in more modern language, so not trying to pretend that we're recreating very deep Zulu, like we're not. We're trying to tell it for modern kids who are using the language in a modern way, and really giving really creative ideas about like how to represent the pictures. So like, what would a Zulu mermaid look like? You know, what would, these fantastical creatures look like? And to do it with really modern colors, so bright colors for kids who are used to engaging with an iPad. And thinking like, well, a mermaid queen now, she would have dreads, she would have this gorgeous dress, she wouldn't be this kind of European-style Little Mermaid thing, she would be this uniquely South African creature. So it's telling a story in a way that hopefully is taking the traditional story and giving it a new life.
Then we set off into the streets of Johannesburg in search of more book vendors.
When they surveyed Johannesburg, it was so interesting because we had like 1,080 bookstores just in the city of Johannesburg. So not South Africa, just the city of Johannesburg, which when we think about like our own reading culture, people are always shocked by that. Like, how can there be so many? Like, well, if you look at just the block we're on right now, we have 12 booksellers just within this one block. And between here and Park Station, which is just a kilometer away, there's 70 booksellers in that tiny, tiny stretch. With that 1,080, that puts us in the same league as Paris and like more than Sydney, more than Berlin. But where we're really different is that 90% of our bookstores were secondhand shops, and 90% of the books that were being sold are from overseas. So in here, it's not that our reading culture is so weak, I think, it's just that we have a very different model for selling books.
There are other different booksellers that sell different books, but as for me, I just do remix. I sell both novels, motivational books, and used to school books.
There's so many variety. When I first started meeting the bookshop owners, I was like, oh my gosh, that's such an unusual combination to have as stock. Like, why are you having a bookstore that sells nappies and books? That's so strange. But in town, the combinations can be really varied. So we have a lot of shops that combine fashion and books, which is very cool and interesting, that there's so many fashion boutiques that also sell books. So one of my neighbors sells really gorgeous winter coats and political memoirs and herbal supplements.
It's not only a tour of the booksellers of now, but as we venture toward the Johannesburg Library, we are regaled with stories of booksellers of old and the treasures they housed unknowingly.
Before Shakespeare was bound, so it was just written on parchment paper, and then they would have a leather top and a leather bottom and tie it together with straps, like things that were that old. He had all the old building plans from the city. He had like old etchings of Joburg, and he was really committed to African writers.
The history and expanse of the library is also divulged.
So underneath us right now, there's 500 parking bays that belong to the provincial legislature, and under that is all the books. So like this whole park where we're walking now, we're walking on top of 1.5 million books. So when the library reopens, if you go to the reference desk because you can't find what you're looking for, they'll still write on a little piece of paper for someone to go on a little trolley, zipping underneath us to find the book in the stacks underground. So the library is amazing, and when it's open, it's really, really well used. So it had closed for about 5 years to remodel. They spent 80 million rand redoing the library, and basically they installed like Wi-Fi, they just modernized everything.
Our walk takes us through the inner city CBD for an impromptu snack break, to a little unknown pop-up arcade with gorgeous skyline art, and then back to the Rand Club where we started off. The Rand Club houses an antique bookshop with some eerie old hidden spaces that are well worth exploring. Thank you so much for joining us today in this epic garden for an epic show. We will see you again next week, same time, same place. I'm Louise Scobel reminding you to sanitize, mask up and social distance. Stay safe and stay healthy.